Hello, everyone. You're listening to C3 Panel Comic Book Review and Discussion Podcast. My name is Fahed Rahman, and today I'm just going to be recording a really short podcast about two books that I've read recently that I feel should get a little bit more publicity. One of them is really well known, and the other one is slightly less well known. The two books are Ducks, 2 Years in the Oil Sands by Kate Beaton, and the other book is Sir Gawain and the Green Knight by John Reppion and Mark Penman. I've received hard copy. I've received advanced review copies of both books in exchange for an honest review. I'm going to start off with Sir Gawain and the Green Knight uh, by John Reppion and Mark Penman. The copy that I received is a beautiful kind of A4 size hardcover, uh, and it tells the legend, the myth of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, which I think most recently has received a really famous movie adaptation. This graphic novel hasn't got anything to do with the movie adaptation. I've not seen the movie, but I've heard really good things about it. So there's obviously something in the air about revisiting this particular myth, and I just want to quickly kind of talk about the artwork. It's really it's a really gorgeous book. One of the things that I particularly like about it is that each page tends to take a really strong color scheme. So the opening section features really strong reds, and then those take place in Arthur's court. The sequences where the Green Knight or that are about the Green Knight are these really kind of lush green, bright green colors. There's even though the characters have got quite a cartoony design, there's a real air of menace about some of the characters and the way they portrayed on scene. Kind of, especially, I'm looking at the kind of the second and third page where the Green Knight first makes his appearance, and he's got the one of the scariest smiles I've seen in a comic book for a very long time. So the color scheme of the book kind of alternates between these really strong bright greens and these reds, and it's the tale itself is one of those stories that you think you know what it's about, but it's always nice to revisit stuff and rediscover what the creators understanding of what that myth is about. And so I don't want to give spoil. You can't really give spoilers away for a myth that's you know hundreds of years old and has had you know, God knows how many retellings and reinterpretations. But I felt that their take on what the myth was about and uh, why what the character motivations were for doing the things that they did was fascinating. And yeah, it's quite and the artwork's gorgeous. I think John has done a really superb job with especially the dialogue. You know you know what's someone looking for? John's done a really good job with the dialogue. The Sir Gawain comes across as a really sympathetic character in a lot of ways. The Green Knight and kind of the other bad guys that are featured in the book come across as really well rounded, and you kind of really understand their motivations for doing the things that they do. So there's no kind of like, oh, there is a good guy and there's a bad guy. You can kind of see that both sides are flawed in the way that they approach solving their problems. So yeah, this is a really firm recommendation from me. Thank you to John and um, Mark for sending me a review copy to check out. I think this is available on the website. I'll include a link for where you can purchase this. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. I'm not too sure what the price is, but it's a really good, gorgeous book to have in your collection. So there's that one out of the way, and then uh, the second one is Ducks by Kate Beaton, and I'll just read out kind of a little blurb for it. So it's Ducks 2 Years in the Oil Sands is an autobiographical comic by Kate Beaton. And it's an extension of a 5-part web comic that she initially posted on Tumblr. Um, and it's about her experience of working in the oil fields of Alberta, uh, kind of starting in 2005, and what it was like for her, kind of moving from a small town in Nova Scotia to this kind of industrial estate where there were a lot of men. Kind of the men outnumbered the women by quite a large amount, and how this kind of mass migration of people from these small towns in other parts of Canada to these oil fields, or these coal factories, coal mines, and uh, things like that, kind of um, depleted these towns, and kind of how a lot of young people moved away to these places for jobs and opportunity. And it's about economic migration, and how these big companies kind of allow really terrible behavior to occur in the places that they've set up, and they've run in order to kind of turn a profit. uh, Kate kind of depicts acts of sexual harassment. There's kind of quite there's a couple of sequences that are kind of quite harrowing, where she depicts um, acts of kind of sexual violence on there. And she it does a really superb job of questioning kind of the morality and the ethics of the oil industry, how they turn a blind eye to sexual harassment, how they don't really care about the environment, how they uh, kind of allow health risks to workers and to locals, and how they kind of ignore the rights of First Nation um, people. For me, this book was a bit of a shock, because I mostly knew Kate through her work through Harker Vagrant, which is kind of short, funny strips about nonsense and stuff like that. This is a really substantial book. It's over. Yes, I mean it's close to, yeah, 500 pages long, and it's a beautiful book to hold and to look at. Uh, the the cover's kind of this yellow cover. I've got the hardcover sent to me for review purposes. It's in Kate's kind of typical, um, not typical. I think it's a bit of an evolution in this in her style, because she usually doesn't get to draw that many. Well, to my recollection, she doesn't usually draw a lot of backgrounds and things like that in her Harker Vagrant scripts. Uh, there's a lot of background work in there. She does a really superb job of kind of depicting small town Canada, and uh, kind of what these oil factories kind of look like. Oil factories. What's the word I'm looking for? Oil refineries. That's the word. Um, and how they kind of look. And if I've got, there are a couple of problems that I did have with the book. There are a lot of characters in here, and sometimes I found it a little bit confusing about how each person related to another person. I think due to kind of Kate's simplistic style, and due to the fact that the book's in black and white, sometimes I found myself a little bit confused about what Kate's relationship was with the other characters in the scene. Um, each chapter kind of has um, a page where they give the character's name and kind of how each character relates to the other characters in that particular section. Which I found quite useful. It's a long book. uh, uh, as I mentioned, and there are a lot of characters in there, so it can be a little bit confusing about who's who, especially since so many of the characters seem to be kind of like middle aged, well, not middle aged, but kind of like white guys, over 25, with moustaches. So I did find it occasionally a little bit difficult to know what Kate's relationship and feelings towards certain characters were. There is a bit of humor. There's quite a lot of Kate's standard humor that she's well known for, but it is really a piercing indictment of how the oil industry in Canada operates, kind of the environmental um, damage that they're allowed to perpetuate. Kind of the title of the book comes from kind of like the idea of the oil industry giving lip service to solving some of the problems that it has created. And I think, you know, it's really beautifully written. Kate kind of treats all these kind of themes and subjects with kind of like an even-handedness. Um, and again, a lot of it is about sexual harassment, and the role that capitalism plays in allowing that to take place without any kind of like real prospect of resolution. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think if you're looking for something light, it's definitely not that. There's a lot of heavy themes uh, in there, and uh, it's a heavy read at times. When I finished reading it, I wasn't sure if I enjoyed it or not. Um, but you can tell a book is good when it kind of lingers with you in the weeks and months after you finished it. And there's certain things in the book that have resonated with me and have kind of left a mark, and that I go back to thinking about in my quiet moments. So definitely, I mean, this book has been really well received by a lot of people already. I think it's already going to be in the list for the graphic novel of the year competition on a lot of people's lists. So yeah, so definitely check that out. And again, thank you to the publishers for sending me an advanced review copy of that as well. So that's it, guys. I'm going to be trying to record a few new episodes in the coming weeks. It might be a little bit spotty, and I'm also going to try and copy Cole's lead and do a few video reviews. I'm probably going to start off with Ducks and the Green Knight and Sir Gawain. Okay, thanks, guys. Check us out. Check us out on social media. If you've got any comments, please send an email to us at c3panel@gmail.com. We're open for submissions at the moment, so if you've got a book that you'd like us to review, or a Kickstarter or anything like that, we're open for that. And if you can please kick us some money in the tip jar, that'd also be really helpful. Thanks, guys.